Hello everyone, welcome back to Glitz and Glitter. Today we are stepping out of the mold world and we are going into the glass world with resin. Today we're going to transform this cool jar. Actually, this came in some Happy Mail a while ago and I've had it on my shelf with all my glasses and vases and wine glasses and tumblers. I have a whole inventory of that stuff that I haven't touched for so long. And I wanted to touch it today. We are going to do this. And you are not going to need a tumbler turner to do this. All you need is UV resin, some chameleon powders, little black spray paint, and we're going to do this in like less than a half an hour. Well, maybe for you, but for me, I have to wait for spray paint to dry. So you could do this in less than an hour. Is that the coolest or what? So this was my third attempt because I wanted to see what the best attempt was. So I'll show you attempt 1 and 2. And at the end, I will explain the difference. So this was attempt 1. No, this was attempt 1. I was going for beach scene, obviously. So this was attempt 1, which is not bad at all, but it wasn't what I was going for. So this was attempt 2, which got a little bit better. And then this was attempt 3, which is amazing. So today, everybody who does resin can do this because you do not, like I said, you don't need a tumbler turner. You do need UV resin and a light though. That's why my light is sitting out here. And this little glass fits in here. This one, I'm going to take the lid off because we don't need the lid right now. I don't know if this one's going to fit. No. So you don't even need that kind of light because we're going to make this one work. And this one actually comes with 2 plugs, 1 for each side, for reasons just like this. When something doesn't fit, this one is plugged in, and I will plug this one in, and we can sandwich it like this. And we'll just cure it this way instead. But we're not at that point yet. So get whatever you want, and if you want this look, then you want to spray paint whatever glass that you're going to use black or a deep color. If you don't want this look, you could skip that step. You don't need to do that. So we're going to do these dragon scales. I think that's what they call them. Yeah, dragon scales. And we're going to do this in these vibrant colors this way. And you don't have to do beachy theme. You could just do a chameleon powder, 1 if you want to. I really wanted to do that powder that Barbara sent me, that really gorgeous powder I did on those inlay coasters the other day. I think I'm going to do that on a tumbler because I have black tumblers that are already black and it's perfect because I don't need to spray paint anything. So I'm just going to take this outside. I'm going to spray paint it, the whole thing, real quick. And then once it's dry, we'll continue. It is painted and ready to go. I even put one of my tumbler stickers on the bottom. So since I put the sticker on, I'm going to coat this. I'm not going to do bubbles on the bottom of the cup because it won't sit flush. But I do want to coat my sticker in and the paint. So I'm just going to put a small, thin layer of UV resin over that. And then we'll pop some bubbles. I may be going through lots of gloves today. We'll see. Let me try to wipe them off. I don't want to keep touching everything with resin all over my fingers. I'm just going to take a lighter. Whoops. Try to get it like level before we cure it. I think I'm going to do this one in parts because that glass was so much smaller. I did it all at one time. But since this is much larger, we're going to do it in parts because it doesn't really matter what the bubbles come out to because there's no coloring in the resin. Let me just wipe the sides here. A little more. Maybe if I get a tool, I won't have to get my fingers dirty so much, right? Just trying to get a decent enough coat on here that I don't have to do it again. And then the lighter is to flatten it out, just to drop the viscosity a little bit. I'm using high viscosity. I used the regular hard type on my first attempt. Goodness, I need more. And it was dripping off the cup, which is why I was attempting this off camera first, because I've never done this before. I mean, I could do a mold any day without practicing, but something like this, I needed to practice. And I'm glad I did, because I didn't want to have like an hour-long video showing you what not to do and learning what not to do with you. Just, this is giving me, that's better. Okay, one more quick snap, and then I'm going to cure it. All right, now that the sides are done, I think I'm going to go section by section because it's easier to do. So let me move my powders. We don't need those. We need our resin, and we need soap and water. So in this bowl of water is some dish soap, and we're going to blow some bubbles. You guys, if you're new, may have not seen this trick before, but you can get dragon scales with UV resin and bubbles. So what I'm going to do, and I'm just got a straw here because I didn't put it in a, you could put it in a jar, but I want bigger bubbles, like not a bunch of tiny bubbles. So that's why I put it in a bowl. So the first thing I'm going to do is a section, and I'm not going to go all the way to the top. I'm probably going to go up to here, and I'm just going to do it like, I don't know, whatever it ends up being. I'll do one section at a time. And I'm going to go all the way to the bottom. So more like freestyle here. Maybe like some waves or something. I don't know. So just get your resin on. Let me wipe my fingers. You don't need to blow torch it or anything. We don't need bubbles out. So I'm going to blow bubbles here. And I'm just going to grab them with my hand and pop them on top. Whoops. Let me do it again. I'm scooping them on top of all that resin I just put on. Make sure it's covering all your resin. And then you're going to put it under your UV light for about a minute, 2 minutes maybe. And the bubbles are going to pop, but it's curing below the bubbles. So it's going right through the bubbles onto the UV resin. There will be some bubbles left. You don't have to wait until it's completely done popping, although they do pop quickly. I know you can't see under here, but as you can see, they are popping. And it's leaving us with the dragon scale effect. And then once you have it cured, that's pretty good. You kind of want it sticky. It'll make life easier with your mica powders. And there's the dragon scales. So I'm just going to continue on. We'll do the next section, and then I'll probably fast forward you because I don't know how many sections I'm going to do. UV resin, make sure, and you can even overlap where you already went so you have a nice transition. And I'm going down to this bottom. And I'm just leaving the top like fluid-like. I'm blowing a ton of bubbles here so I could just grab a whole handful. And if you use smaller bubbles, you'll get smaller bubbles. If you use larger ones, I'm making a massive mess on my counter, but I just want to make sure it's covering all the UV resin. And Here, maybe I'll put some small ones on as well. Just stretch it all the way over. And if you lose them, put them on. Try not to get water though. Okay, now I'm gonna grab my light and cure. And they are popping underneath this light right now. So I will go ahead and fast forward the rest of this, but I'll keep you here so you could watch. And then we're gonna get to the fun part, which is coloring it. Now that I have it all done, it looks good. If you want to touch anything up, just redo it and do some spots that over again. So I'm going to take some acetone and a paper towel, and all I'm going to do is remove the rest of the paint that I'm not using. So it's not going to come off. Your UV resin's not going to come off. You can, if you can like use a knife if you got it in certain spots you didn't want it at. And I feel that it's sticky, which is amazing. I'm glad it's sticky. I didn't leave it under the light very long because I do want it sticky. If yours is not sticky enough to hold the powder, you can always tack it over and over. And then let it dry and then put your powders on. I'm just gonna get all this black off before I move on. And this was frosted glass. It wasn't clear glass. And I don't need it perfect, but I'm just trying to get it, especially by that line, so we don't get it in there forever where it doesn't need to be. I mean, I still have some cleaning to do, but I think I'm going to change my gloves because there's probably resin on them still. So there it is, cleaned off. Let me change my gloves real quick. If you have resin where you don't want it, say this piece I don't want on there because it came up, I just take your knife and it'll come right off. And then just clean up your glass. I don't want to scratch this glass because this glass is frosted, so I don't want to do too much of that, but that's how you do it on normal glass. And I'm just going to clean it up Okay, because I don't have a sandy chameleon color, I pulled out this like copperish, it's called chocolate. I think this is from Estoyo. And get yourself a brush and start painting away. Like I said, you don't have to do it beach style. You could just do it all one color if you wanted to. Let me get all these parts off that are sticking because it's still sticky. It's not cured fully. But again, if you cure it fully, then grab this glue, tack it over and over, put it on your spots, let it dry, and then when it's dry, it'll be clear, and then you can put your powder on there. So let's see how well this sticks. Oh yeah, this is gonna stick good. So I'm just gonna do like very organic. I'm not gonna do like a straight line or anything. I'm just gonna brush my color on. I don't have a chameleon powder that's this color. I wish they made a chameleon powder this color, but they don't. Well, all the ones that I have don't. This is pretty though. This is good. And like I said, I don't want it like a straight line, so I'm just gonna brush it on haphazardly. I can't do like a white wave or anything because I don't have white chameleon powder, so we're gonna skip the wave for today. All right, that looks pretty good. Then I'm gonna take my light blue, which is the teal color from Let's Love Resin. That's this one called Teal, and do the same thing. I'm just gonna go up, kind of doing in thirds, and then I do want it to fall down into my copper or brown color. So we're just gonna merge them together, and then I'll merge my dark blue with the light blue. And you'll know if it's not sticking, you'll just see black. I'm just gonna merge those two together. If you have high bits on here, because it can get sharp in spots that it cured higher, like here, you can sand it down real quick. Just go over the whole thing with some sandpaper before you start, or even after. It doesn't even matter because this is going in all those crevices. Or pick them off with like the tip of your knife. If you only have like one tiny spot that needs to come off, you could just pop it off with your knife. That looks good. Then we're gonna go in with the blue. And this one is called Blue. Yep, by Let's Resin. And I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna blend them. Now this has a purple tint to it too. But these are the same two colors I used on that last cup that came out so pretty. I think when I do my tumbler, I'll do it with you guys in the next few days. I think I'm gonna do it with that color that Barbara just bought me, the whole tumbler. Isn't that pretty? Let's try to blend them together. See, this spot right here is staying black. I cured it too long, so I think I will be taking a little bit of my tack it over and over glue, and I will do that spot because I don't want black. Isn't that cool? I don't know, I love it. When it's completely done, I'll clean the top of this off for, you know, for good, but it's hard to keep clean. All right, so I have a few spots that I want to touch up, so we're gonna cap this so I don't spill it. I'm gonna take my glue, and I'm just gonna go over tiny little bit. It dries really fast. It goes on white, dries clear. I can get some to the top. Okay, there we go. A little bit there. And a little bit here. We'll just go around the edge. I'm just gonna rub it down with my finger. It's okay if it gets on the glass, it'll come off. I'm just gonna let this dry, and then I'll go in with the powder. Everything else looks to be okay. And you can either leave it like this, or you can top coat it, and I'm going to top coat it with UV resin to make it a little bit smoother. So let this dry and get those colors on, and then we'll top coat. It's nice and dry. I'm gonna go ahead and paint the rest on, and then we will finish this off. This is like the easiest project that anybody can do without a tumbler turner. I know a lot of you like to do or want to do tumblers or rings, like I do, like jewelry rings I've done on my tumbler turner, and people want to know if they can do it without a tumbler turner, and unfortunately you can't. But I'm like, this one they can. So all right, I'm just going to brush everything off with a nice stiff brush. Get it all the loose stuff off. And then I'm gonna go around and feel if there's anything like that's pointy. And if there is, kind of right here is a little pointy. So you could take this is a 80 grit sanding block. And go over the whole thing if you want. Sorry, my dog is like choking on something behind me. He's okay, everyone, don't worry. Yeah, and I just went too far, so I'm gonna have to touch that spot up. So just get either do this before or be very careful doing it. So I do have to rebrush all that out. Got two little spots to touch up now. And right there. So I'm going to touch these spots up with a little more glue and powder off camera, and then we'll finish this up. All right, now that we have all the colors where we want them, while I was waiting, I did put another bottom coat on the bottom of my cup just to make it a little bit thicker. It's got a lot of powder on here from my table. So now what we're going to do is take our UV resin again. And I'll probably do this just in one coat. Actually, maybe I was going to put it on my turner handle, but if you don't have a turner, I'm not going to use my turner. So I'm just going to take my high viscosity a little bit at a time, and I'm going to rub all the areas. Even if you go above, it's better than going below. So all the areas that have the powder, we're going to shine them up and coat them because it is quite bumpy. It's not terribly bumpy, like you can use it, but it would be more comfortable for you to put a coat of UV resin on it, or even two if you wanted to, depending if how much of that bump you want to cover. So I am going to go around this whole entire thing before I cure it. And then we'll cure it for a few minutes, check it. If there's any little tiny ridges that only need a little like piece chopped off, then I'll use my knife for those. Trying to do this without touching my bottom, since my bottom is done already. I will go around that edge though. So off camera, I went over it one more time with UV resin because it was bumpy and lumpy, and I was actually going to put it on eBay, but I actually think I'm going to keep it myself because I really like this. So now what I'm going to do is feel around the whole cup, and I know there was one spot that needed to be taken down with a knife. There was like something sticking up. So I'm just going to take a knife and just kind of pluck it off. It was from the UV resin curing. I think I bumped it and it started sticking up. So that's all you got to do on those spots. Everything else, I mean, I could feel some of it, but it doesn't bother me. If you really wanted it completely smooth, I would say put it on your tumbler turner and use epoxy. But this is for people who don't have a tumbler turner. Okay, so now I'm gonna take another paper towel. I'm gonna clean this again with my acetone and get all of that stuff that I don't want on there, get it off. And you can use your knife if it's not coming off with this. So some of these spots have cured resin on them. Just peel it right off with your knife. And get that little stuff off where you don't want it. Now, I've never worked with frosted glass before, so I don't know if I can ruin it or not. It looks like you can. Looks like you can take the frost right off of that, so I'm going to be really careful. I'm glad I'm keeping this for myself. So I'm just going to go around this whole cup, clean around that edge. See this one spot here, it has a little bit of colored UV resin on it. I'm just going to try to peel that off. And if it was a regular glass, because I was scraping that wine cup, that wine glass that I made with a knife and nothing happened to the glass. So it's definitely because this is frosted. So I don't recommend doing it unfrosted. If you're going to be making mistakes, you got to clean off. So there it is. I got my sticker on the bottom. This is really, really, really cool. I love it. Okay, and I promised you, let me get the lid on this. I promised to tell you what I did with the first two. And the first two, I actually had some extras that I just finished. So these were mica powders that I had left over. So I just swirled them together, put a charm on, top coated them, and back coated them, and put keychains on those. And then I had just a tiny, tiny little bit of clear, and of course, my favorite pendant now. And I put a flat back bail on there. So those were the extras. I actually had extras today, even though it was a UV resin day. And I told you how I did this the exact same way we did that one. So the first one I did was this one. And that's where the extras came from. I mixed up four. I mixed up 4 tiny containers with UV resin and mica powder. So dark blue, light blue, a copper, and there was actually white mica in there too. And I spread it on here with the mica powder in and cured it, well, put the bubbles on and then cured it. The exact same thing, except my resin had mica powder in it. And that's the look that you're gonna get, much more subtle. And I'm like, that's not exactly what I'm looking for. I want the shimmer and shine. So what I did was the second one. I put it on clear, like we did today, and put the bubbles on, and then I cured it. Now, I cured this entire cup at one time, so I wrapped this whole cup with bubbles at once. And then, once it was cured, I took the mica powders and I brushed them on just like I did the one we did today together. The only difference is that one has a black background, this one has a clear background from the glass. So that's the look you're gonna get. Look at how different this is. So these are the exact same way, except this has the black background and this does not. You could probably put a white spray paint behind there and get a little bit better shimmer out of those colors. but I think the black is the best, which is why I chose it for today's project. But some of you might not want the vibrancy and you just want a subtle look. So all right, well, that's it today, guys. Something completely different. I think I will do one of my tumblers later in a few days or a week or so, and we'll do it with epoxy on the tumbler turner and see how that comes out. All right, guys, stick around for those pictures. I'll see you everybody tomorrow. You all have a blessed day. Bye.